Well, Ramesh Srinivasan is a professor at the UCLA's Department of Information Studies. He joins us by Skype from Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera. Changing the policy on hate speech, in this instance, it might be understandable, but doesn't this open a whole new can of worms?
It absolutely does, because, when a company like Facebook/Meta decides to take sides here, not sort of, in no way am I sort of condoning the brutality of the Russian invasion here, but when they decide that we're going to allow violent content to go viral, when it is directed in one direction, right, toward Russian military and Russian soldiers, it's not only likely that that can actually lead to actual violence that might be unnecessary or uncalled for, but I think even more importantly, what we've learned about Facebook/Meta, and actually more generally about big technology platforms, is violent content tends to go viral. So content that is more inflammatory in nature or more sensational in nature ends up dominating the entire platform's ecosystem, because that content, by the technology's algorithms, will be predicted to grab people's attention. So what we know in a place like Ukraine, but actually in many other parts of the world, where Meta/Facebook is not intervening, like in Ethiopia and so on, is that they are the media network. They are the source of journalism. In some countries, they're the cell phone network. So for them to kind of opine and kind of engage here directly in this way shows their lack of understanding of their own potential culpability in making the situation worse.
Yes, I mean, they say this is only a temporary change, but as you say, they're almost adjudicating here. Could we see that in future conflicts? They've decided not to in Ethiopia. How do they decide when to get involved?
I mean, it's when it suits them, right? This is mainly, I think it's important to understand for a company like Facebook, right, which has, when you think about Facebook, /Meta, you're not just thinking about that, you're also thinking about Instagram, you're thinking about WhatsApp. These platforms together have over 4.5 billion users around the world. And so by them, they do intervene pretty much in every aspect of human life, including examples of conflict, because their algorithms, again, privilege disinformation and violent content. And therefore, they have intervened in a very active way in the context of Yemen, in the context of Ethiopia, historically in the context of Myanmar, and so on. So this is them signaling, in the context of a much more publicized war, Russia and Ukraine, right, that they want to get involved and they want to basically look like they're doing the right thing from a publicity standpoint. But really, this speaks more largely to how these technology platforms and companies, including YouTube, Twitter, and so on, are manipulating public discourse and overtaking all forms of journalism.
And we heard there from our reporter in Moscow that Russia has opened a criminal case against Meta and branding it an extremist organization. What could the consequences of that be?
I mean, it's the Russian government setting itself up to basically say it's us against the world, right? I mean, in a sense, that's all they have left. I mean, we see pretty clear evidence, including from your own reporting, that so many Russian citizens are unhappy with the brutal actions taken by this government. So it's the government's attempt to set up itself as a protagonist versus all these sort of Western organizations, as antagonists. And this plays very well into the Russian government's hands. It sets them up as sort of a, which is, we know is absolutely not true, as an entity that protects the rights and speech of their citizens. We know the opposite is true. And a company like Meta as a sort of manipulator of all of those things.
Ramesh Srinivasan, professor at UCLA, thank you for speaking to Al Jazeera.
Happy to join you all. Thank you.